Alright, welcome back. We are rejoining Lord Mazdamundi on his quest to reclaim the world for the Great Old Ones and the Grand Plan. Now, today we're going to start off talking about trees real quick. So, if you all remember from last episode, Lord Mazdamundi beat Skegi in the field and sent their armies reeling. As you can see, his armies are not in the worst shape, so we're going to take them in just a minute. But first off, I do want to spend a second to talk about the tech tree. Tech tree is shaped differently for each and every race. For those of you who've ever played a strategy game before, you are probably familiar with tech trees. What's different about the Total War tech trees is you do not unlock new units via your tech trees. You unlock new units via your buildings. Your tech trees are always raw, faction-wide buffs for different things. You unlock them by building certain buildings. Some races get it open from the start, others you need to build specifically. Lizardmen are definitely ones you build specifically. And also, don't expect to fill out your entire tech tree during a campaign. I have never played a campaign where I researched every single piece of tech on the tech tree, except for maybe the Empire. Additionally, each race's research tech at different rates. Lizardmen are kind of slow. Skaven are really fast. Skaven, you can expect a new piece of tech every 4 turns, while with Lizardmen, you can go 10 or even 12 turns without a new piece of technology being researched. Next thing to note is your cities. There it is. Okay. Your civilization has its own trees for buildings. These are per region and per settlement. You have your infrastructure, your defense, your advanced military, and your basic military. Additionally, you have your landmarks and your resources. Like I said in the last one, it kind of varies from place to place. Every single building in your society can build your infrastructure, defense, advanced military, and military. Specific locations can build resources, and only exact locations can build landmarks. Like I said last time, landmarks are not faction exclusive, they are location exclusive, so even if you are a rival faction, if you take over a place that can build a landmark, you can still build that landmark and gain its benefits. It's not always the most viable thing. Like if you're in Chaos territories and you get a building that increases Chaos corruption, you do not want that if you're not playing a Chaos faction. For the buildings, your military buildings will build military units for you. These do not stack, and they count for the entire province. So you don't want to double down on these buildings. Your advanced military will give you access to others. Typically, you need to tag team and have one from the advanced tree and one from the basic tree to get access to the unit. Sometimes, like in the case of these dinosaurs here, you just need the one. Defense ups the defense of that particular structure. All settlement capitals come pre-fortified. They already have walls. You don't need to worry about that. Outlying settlements, you need to manually build walls if you want to have siege battles in that settlement. And infrastructure typically increases your economy or your research rate. Additionally, any building that has this little mark here, the quill crossed over the sword, will unlock a new technology off of the research tree. Now, when you're building buildings, it's really critical to keep in mind that you're not going to have every building in a given province. Full provinces that are a stack of 4 can get a lot of them, but they still can't have everything. Some provinces only have 2 settlements, so you really have to think about what you're going to be building there. Buildings come in tiers. Small settlements only go to tier 3, that's this cutoff line right here. No, I'm sorry, that's this cutoff line up here. The building we're looking at is only tier 2. And capitals can go up to tier 5. So as you can see, there are certain buildings that can only be built at the 4th and 5th tier. Those are the ones you really want to limit to your capital. Stuff that caps out on tier 3, especially buildings like this that don't upgrade at all, you're better off putting in your further out settlements. Though keep in mind, the further out your settlement is, the more vulnerable it is to invasion and being taken, and if it gets taken or if it gets razed to the ground, you lose access to this. So bear that in mind. The last thing to mention is you don't need to upgrade things just because you have the capability to. Upgrades cost money, and so does your military. So you need to balance your economy very carefully. Some species are better at balancing this than others. Lizardmen are kind of right in the middle. You don't need to worry too much about it. Others, it's a constant drain on resources, so you need to think very carefully about it. Next thing to mention on your buildings and your strategy for advancement. When you look at the map, it's really easy to think, I'm just going to conquer all of this. Yeah, I can rule the world. That is a pain in the ass. When you look, your victory isn't to take every single settlement. It's typically a list of settlements that are your faction's known territories. Additionally, you want to eliminate certain factions. Yeah, in this, it's all of these. So, you don't need to take every single settlement in the game, but when you're advancing and you're trying to expand your empire and bolster your economy, you do want to take it province by province. Anytime you click on any city, yours or an opponent's, it lists off every single settlement within that province. When you take a full province, you're able to issue a decree, which is a blanket buff to the entire area. That can be an economic boon, it can be a... what is the name of that? Public order boon to keep it from rebelling. It can be a military boon to help you build units faster there. It's just super helpful. And it's especially critical for the Lizardmen because that's their entire faction-wide bonus, the Geomantic Web. Every time you own a province capital, you get a buff to the decree in your main thing. I'm sorry, I'm forgetting my words here. If you're even just allied or neutral with that, you're still getting a buff. It's better than if it's in ruins or if it's taken by an enemy faction. The last thing you want to really bear in mind is who your neighbors are and plan accordingly. To my north are Dark Elves who don't like me. They're probably going to start fights with me. I should fortify my northern settlements. Once I deal with Skegi here, this is their last settlement, I'll have the High Elves to my east. They don't mind me too much, so I shouldn't have to worry too much about them. To my south are some humans. They're neutral towards me. It can go either way. I've seen campaigns where the AI just steamrolls and takes them over. I've seen campaigns where the AI befriends them and becomes cool with them, so they could go either way. That's a ruin. It could be empty. It could have Skaven. I should be wary of that. And then the map ends to my west, so I don't have to worry about that. You will never have enemies coming out of this random fog. That's the edge of the map. Even if you expand your empire out, you still need to worry about marauding armies, which have a chance of spawning randomly, and rebellions. You want to make sure that your public order is on the up and up. Typically what you want to do is you want to pick a direction you want to expand and fortify your defenses in the other ways, maybe leave an army behind when your economy gets good enough. The last little tree to talk about is the individual character growth tree. I mentioned this kind of in passing in the last one, but now we're going to go into a little bit more detail. Down at the bottom is your overworld buffs. These give you various bonuses to your movement across the campaign map, and if your character is in an area. Like recruitment costs going down, ambush chance increasing, removing corruption and increasing public order. You should always go for route marcher at the start, because that increases your movement speed by 10%. That allows you to move a lot further and cover ground. One that I do recommend everyone going for pretty early on is Lightning Strike. This allows you to attack an army and prevent them from calling reinforcements, which allows you to pick off smaller supporting armies before going after the bigger, juicier targets. That can be critical at times, but again, it depends on your build of the army. Defensive armies don't need to worry about that. Next is your army-wide bonuses. These give you different bonuses to certain kinds of units within your army. And it also gives you rally abilities and other buffs you can pop to keep your units fighting longer in the battle. The top row up here is your individual character buffs. For melee combatants, it's increasing their toughness and their ability to dole out damage. For spellcasters, it's the spells they learn. Then the top row, the very tip top is mounts and character-specific buffs. If you have a legendary lord like Mazdamundi here, it's unique to them. Others, it's by their class. And then certain characters will have another row right here in the middle that gives them other buffs. These are typically locked by level. Once you hit a certain level, they unlock, like Telekinesis at level 8, Zlog, his special mount, is at 17, etc., etc. For generic characters, one of the most important up here in Total War Warhammer 2 is Immortal. At level 20, you can pick that up, and that prevents them from permanently dying if they fall in the battle or they get assassinated. My recommended build is for spellcasters to get the spells you need, and then kind of ignore this tree once you get Arcane Conduit over here at the end, which lets you recoup your magical abilities a lot faster. How these trees work is for these rows right here, there's a capstone at the start. You need a certain number, I believe it's 4 from the previous rank, yeah, it's 4, to unlock this, and then that unlocks the next tier, and then once you have 4 of those, you unlock the final tier. Sometimes for this, it's a bit more. Yeah, for this tier, it's 6, but down here, it's still 4. And it really varies from faction to faction. Most of the time, it's increasing their strengths. Every now and again, it is mitigating their weaknesses. For Mazdamundi here, I want him casting spells, so I will up this. For the spells, some of them only have 1 dot. It's either a bound spell for special characters, or it's a passive wipe buff. For the others, it's multiple little marks. Once you get 1 mark unlocks the spell, the second mark allows you to overcast it, which basically increases the duration of the spell. It can make single target spells into AoE spells and other really helpful stuff like that. It's good to learn the winds of magic for your casters. Each faction is limited in what forms of magic they have access to, and it's important to learn what you have. Lizardmen here have the lore of heavens and the lore of beasts. Beast is mostly full of buffs and debuffs with a couple of damaging spells, and lore of heavens has some really good AoE spells and a pretty good debuff. Salon Mage Priests are weird. They have access to a special skill tree, which gives them a grab bag of all different lores, so they're kind of unique in that regard. Alright, with all that said, we can finally get back into the action, and Lord Mazdamundi here will go and deal with the Skegi and kick them out of Lustria once and for all. Yeah. So, as you can see, even though their forces are kind of equal to mine in number, both of their armies have been marching, so they will enter the battle exhausted, meaning they will not be nearly as functional. And their garrison is not as good as my invading troops. Now, whenever you go into a battle with a settlement, you have 3 options. You can fight the battle manually, which I'm not going to do because this balance of power is really good. You have an auto-resolve, or you can break the siege and leave. You can also encircle, or in the case of settlements with walls, you can continue the siege. If you're doing a walled battle fight, you have options of building siege equipment. And over here is how long the enemy settlement can hold out. After this many turns, they'll begin to suffer attrition, and their forces will start to lose manpower, which makes them easier to attack. If you manage to keep the siege going for this long, they will surrender, and you will take the settlement without a fight. Now, the thing to keep in mind about siege battles is, as long as you're besieging, your army is locked down. They're not going anywhere. And if the enemy forces have another army in the field, they can come around, and they'll have everything to deal with you. That was a close victory. I lost a Unisaurus, 2 Skinks. Oh, and my Stego. That's actually bad. Oh, well. I'll make do. Level up. After a fight, you do get bonuses. And now I have the options of what to do with a city. When you conquer an enemy city, you can either claim it as your own, you can loot it and claim it, you can sack it, or you can raze it to the ground. Occupying is what you want to do if you're expanding your territory. Loot and occupy only if you really desperately need the money, or you desperately need your units to recover their health, because it will put a major detriment on the public order and province instability. Public order is an immediate penalty to the public order of that region, which means it gets closer and closer to rebelling. Province instability is a stack that will be put on the province, and that province will have a negative penalty to their stability, to their public order, until that goes away. And that'll tick down 1 mark every turn until it goes away. Sacking it is if you don't want the territory, but you do want money. For horde armies that do not have their own settlements, or when you're patrolling deep in enemy territory, this is the better option because it gives you money and it replenishes your troops. Raising is when you don't want it, but you also don't want them to have it. I'm expanding my empire, so I will occupy. And I unlocked a new right. Neat. Enemy killed in battle. Anytime you see these icons and they are faction-specific, that means you have permanently killed this enemy character. That is a good thing. And I found a new enchanted item. Neat. And the Skegi have been wiped out. I no longer have to worry about them. So, I can now see across the ocean here. This map is truncated, so this is actually an entire ocean, not just a little river, to the High Elves. The High Elves are okay with me, but not great. Keep in mind, the more powerful your nation becomes, the less likely other people are to deal with you. It's called great power. If you greatly outrank somebody else, they will see you in an unfavorable light, and they may even form alliances to deal with your shit. So bear that in mind. I'm gonna grab... Ooh. Net of Amontok is a super useful spell, and anytime you have access to it, it's really recommended to grab that. It locks down enemy units within a certain range. So if you grab people in a Net of Amontok, you can either charge them with your cavalry, You can encircle them relatively easily. You can hold them down while your artillery and your range units pepper them. Or you can drop a vortex spell right on top of them as like a 1-2 punch and pretty much wipe them the hell out. Super useful spell to have. Curse of the Midnight Wind is a really, really good debuff that is an AoE debuff. It lowers armor and melee attack, which means whatever units you're smacking with it, they're not hitting as hard. And if they're armored units, they're about to get rolled over pretty quick. These are both good options for my current build. Curse of the Midnight Wind is the smarter option. I don't have a lot to really take advantage. I don't have any cav in this unit, and I have a couple of range units, so oh well. And my hero has leveled up. Heroes typically only have the 2 major skill trees and their top level ups. It's their in-combat and their out-of-combat buffs. Some of them are good if you have them embedded in armies, like training here increases the experience of my units every turn, while wounded means I have a chance of hurting enemies I attack in one-on-one combat on the over map, because heroes can do that. Instead, I'm going to increase his combat stuff because he is in melee combat with my general. I really want that Carnosaur. It makes them so ridiculously good. Okay. Now that we have that, our next goal is going to be to go settle the Fallen Gates here so we have conquest of this province, and I'll show you what happens when you settle a ruined settlement with a full army. I have a couple of places that can be upgraded. I will upgrade this. Upgrading your core building is typically a good idea. It increases growth, which is the speed in which you can upgrade your core buildings. These buildings on the bottom tier, the buildings you can build in any settlement, they upgrade if you have the money for them and you are at the proper tier of their home building. Their home building only upgrades when you have a population surplus. Each province has what's called a growth factor that's seen over here. I currently have a 60 growth in this province. Each level requires a new amount of population for the population to get a surplus. Once you have a surplus, you can upgrade one of these buildings, as you can see right here with this number. That requires 1 population, that requires 2 population. Top tier requires 5 population. Population surplus is for that region only. It doesn't spill over into other regions. And for the buildings, military units, it depends on if you want access to them. I will probably be dealing with Dark Elves, which have a lot of range, so I do want shields, so I will upgrade this. Upgrading your economic buildings is always a good idea because it increases the amount of money you're getting next turn. I don't particularly need anything else that costs only 1,000 gold, so I'll let it end at that. And once again, we let the rest of the map take their turns. There's 110 other factions on the map, and good lord, it can take a while for them to all roll over when you're first starting out. But as time goes on, they will confederate, they will be conquered, and they will die. So eventually it'll congeal into only the big, massive factions. Okay. And we already removed one of them from the map. The Skegi are now gone. Ooh, random events. These will crop up every now and again. You're typically given 2 options, and it's typically done as faction-wide buffs for the next couple of turns. So I have the option of increasing the attack power of all of my Saurus warriors at the cost of melee, or the other way around. I would rather grind them out and deal with them, so I will increase their attack power. I also don't expect to be going to war with the Dark Elves in the next 8 turns, so this should be fine. Also, the Dark Elves are too busy fighting amongst themselves because the Cult of Pleasure is dealing with... Who the hell are these guys? Sedicil Tor. Alright. So the Cult of Pleasure are fighting a bunch of pretentious assholes right now, so we're going to let them fight it out. When you're covering great distances and you don't have enemies nearby and you don't expect to have enemies nearby, switching over to March is better because it lets you move further. The big thing to worry about is if you know that Skaven, Beastmen, or other ambush-happy factions are in the area, because if you get ambushed while marching, you're in a lot of trouble, because you're in a disadvantageous position and your units will all be exhausted. Alright, and what is the right units we do? Experience gain, income from loot, and recruitment capacity. I will save this for later. Big thing to know about the rights is you don't want to be popping them off constantly. You want to use them when you need them. because they do have a long cooldown on them. I believe the average is 20 turns. 50 turns for this one, but you do get a full army for doing it. Alright. And as you can see, my people are not happy, but that's mostly due to their instability. If a province is hemorrhaging public order really quickly, you can choose to stop taxing them, but that does have a detrimental impact on your economy. See, that cut mine by more than half. So I do need to keep them being taxed. Taxing has a -4 to public order, because people don't like giving up their money, even if they're weird lizard people. The downside to marching is you cannot muster forces while you are marching. You're moving too fast. Last thing to mention while I see it, starting in Total Warhammer 2, you have climate tabs on your different settlements. That's this little circle here. Each faction has different climates they like. You don't really need to memorize them. You just know they come in 3 colors. Green, red, and yellow over here. Oh, good. I have all 3 on the same picture. Green settlements, they like. It's their natural habitat. It's the kind of environment they like to be in. You suffer no penalties for building in this climate. I think you even get buffs. No, it's just no penalties. Unpleasant climates are, they can live there, but it's not the greatest. As you can see, it comes with a lot of detriments, but it's not the worst thing in the world. A -1 to public order, most factions aren't even going to care about that. Increased construction costs, lower casualty replenishment rates, construction time increase on all buildings, and a negative buff to income. Typically, you only want to capture these if you want to keep them out of enemy hands, or if you like really need the province as a launching point for something. Red, it sucks to live there. You get a massive penalty to everything, a negative growth, all construction time is doubled, an increased recruitment time, a -50% income to penalty, -50% penalty to income. I know how to use words. It's just not a good place to live. More often than not, when you encounter a building like this, it's better to burn it to the ground than it is to claim it. Only if you're decided, like, I want to take over the entire world, do you force your people to live here. Ugh. No. Yeah, that's the gist of that. We're going to move on to our next turn. Weird thing about turn pacing in this game is sometimes you get turns that go on for long periods of time as you're moving multiple armies around, you're fighting multiple battles, you're having a big explosive event. Other times, it's pretty quiet on all fronts, and it's just about moving your troops around, and it doesn't take a while. Oh, there's Chaos Corruption here. Boo, Chaos Corruption. You can tell Chaos Corruption's in an area because it gets all lava-y and looks like Mordor and blah. Sometimes you get, like, Chaos markers on the ground, because cultists are weird. Our gods are in the sky and they're watching us! We want to build them presents to show them how cool we think they are! Ooh. That's what I think cultists sound like. So as long as you're within the boundaries of your territory, you can still recruit units. So I'm going to take this opportunity to quickly recruit some Saurus warriors. Dark Elves are to the north. They're pretty trigger happy, and they sometimes have beasts, so I want more Saurus warriors with shields and a unit with spears. Ooh, I have research available. Only option increases defense for my Saurus warriors. That's fine. Not the best in the world, but okay. And while we're at it, we're going to increase our income. The more units you have and the better units you own, the more strain you put on your economy in a campaign. You typically want to keep your units within your affordability and still have an income so you can save up for rainy days or to increase your settlements. It's really easy to want to build armies that are nothing but stacks of super elite units and just steamroll your way through. But you also have to keep in mind, the more of those you have, the less armies you have. Ooh, somebody wants to talk to me. What do you want? They want a trade agreement. Perfect. Now, as you progress and you build into new areas, you do get access to new resources. If you look, this place has wood, that place has gold. That place I don't think has anything. I don't know what that marker means. So, the more you expand out and the more different resources you have, the better trade agreements you can gain dealing with other factions. Oh, nope, Skaven live there, and they have a full army stack. Okay. Luckily, it's all clan rats and Skaven slaves, so they have a pretty shitty army. I'm a little bit in my favor, so I'm going to fight this out. So, Skaven are a heavy numbers faction. If you know what you're doing with Skaven, you can envelop your enemies really easily because they will almost always certainly outnumber. The way to counter Skaven is to rush them down faster than they can rush you down. If you know what you're doing, and especially if you have terror or fear-causing units, you can cause them to break and rout relatively quickly. The question is, can you do it before they fully enveloped? I'm finding the AI, so I don't expect envelopment tactics because they're not very good at that. I don't have a very elite army, and as you can see, I don't have the units I recruited. I get them at the start of my next turn. If I retreat or if I lose this battle, I don't get those units, and I do want those units. Not having the dinosaur is going to be a pain because that thing was my heavy hitter, and it's gone now, but I still have my hero, I still have my temple guard, my super elite, which Lord Mazdamundi started the game with. Okay, and what does the terrain look like? Oh, good. They have the uphill advantage. I'm not going to gamble. I didn't see them bringing a lot of ranged units, so I'm going to set up in a defensive formation because I'm outnumbered. I also do not want to be charging up that hill. I want them to come to me. So, Saurus as my front line, Temple Guard here on one flank, Kroxigor on the other flank. Send them out in full line. And my Javelins up front in two formations. Really bog standard build, nothing terribly fancy going on here because we're just starting out, we don't have a lot of options. Send my Swords Warrior out to the front there. Alright. I'm going to group these guys together. And then my rest of my forces will be a third army group. And I have 3 army groups either way. Now we're going to go look and see what we're dealing with. We are dealing with a lot of shitty rat people. The naked ones are the Skaven slaves. They're going to be the first to fall. Then we have a bunch of clan rats who aren't the most impressive things in the world. But as you can see, there is a hell of a lot of them. Oh, good. They spawned a unit. Alright, Temple Guards, go see them off. Hero, get in there. They spawned a unit, but they popped that ability way too early. They didn't do a lot of damage, and they're already running away. Spawned units in these games will always start losing health immediately after they're spawned. So these guys are not going to come back. As you can see, my entire army is already focusing them down. Oh. Oh, I can spawn a Skink Priest. That's neat. I don't know why I can do that. That must be because of where I am. Because that is not a normal ability. Alright. And here they come again. Okay. Go deal with their stupid bullshit. They're just wasting these. And as you can see, my units are in skirmish mode, so they will automatically run from enemy attackers. You know what, Kroxigor, go deal with their stupid bullshit. Alright, and they're already berserk. Okay, so things are already starting to pop off. They are more or less downhill for me, so I'm going to go ahead and engage them. Alright, Mazdamundi, what do you got? Got Cold-Blooded. Oh, shit, that's a... I didn't realize he picked that up. That's super useful. Alright, and now we're going to Curse of the Midnight Wind. All of these Skaven slaves. And what do you have? You have Common of Castandora, Wind Blast is garbage, Hands Impenetrable Repel. Okay, well we're going to Common of Castandora right on top of these guys. Let's watch. Take a second. Yeah, I like this unit. Okay. Go deal with their shit. Okay, you're firing. You guys are all doing something. That's good. My magic skink projection is already fading, so I'll just send him into battle. Alright. And I can go ahead and send him into melee and deal with that. Hey, Squirt, Fear Musk. We're a bunch of filthy rat people. We shit all over everything because we don't like nice things. As you can already see, they're already starting to mass waver. They can't really deal with this army. Okay. Oh, that's theirs. Okay. Where's my hero? On the other side of the battlefield. Okay. Wow, Mazdamundi is just psychicking his way through this garbage. Yeah. And I can cast a healing spell on my Croxicores. They went berserk, and they're now charging into the back row of these Skaven, which is fine. Woohoo! Woohoo! Sending giant crocodaddies to deal with little rat bitches. Makes them all squirt the Fear Musk, if you know what I mean. Yeah, so they're broken. They're getting the hell out of there. These guys have become berserk, so I can't control them anymore. That is the downside to them. Mazdamundi is surrounded. That's not great. Alrighty, and yeah, there's a lot of these filthy rat turd monsters. Okay. What are you guys doing? You guys are doing... Why are you just letting them shoot into you? Shoot back. You know what? Turn off skirmish mode. Stop skirmish. Okay, you go deal with their warlord. Mazdamundi. Physician, heal thyself. Okay. Pop that artifact. Give my forces a buff. Everyone is fighting. We are dealing with their shit. My Scar Veteran is running away? Why are you doing that? Don't be that. Don't be like that. They're running. Okay. So, Fallen Gates are almost certainly infested with Skaven, which is not a good thing. It means I'm going to have to deal with that. And this army is not really in a good position to do that. Okay, Mazdamundi, it's time for you to get the hell out of there. Can you get the hell out? Mazdamundi. Mazdamundi. Mazdamundi, I do not want you to die right off the bat. That would be embarrassing. Mazdamundi, get the hell out. Mazdamundi. Mazdamundi is surrounded by rat people. Temple Guard, get in there and save Mazdamundi. Oh, nope, they're routing. Skaven are routing. Good. Skaven, can you get the hell out? Why are you guys all the way over there? You must have been chasing something. My micromanagement is terrible, especially when I'm talking. Okay. Mazdamundi is still being chased by that fucking rat man. Mazdamundi has broke and is running away. That's fine. I want him to get the hell out. Summon a little magical skink priest. Magical turn of events. And he can't do anything useful. Okay, finally my Sword Scar Veteran has stopped being a shitter. I'm gonna drop Cold Blooded on him. Most Lizardmen heroes have the ability Cold Blood. It does give them a health increase and regen their health, but it slows them down and it lowers their combat speed, so you don't want to do that while they're currently engaged in combat. Alright, this mass of skinks needs to get useful. Mazdamundi is back. Do that and pop that so that he will recover his own leadership, because that's what that spell does. Alright, who else is not doing anything? You're moving, you guys are moving, you are engaged in combat that you're losing, that's fine. I just wanted you to tie down their general. Alright, and I really need my units to stop running away. Stop dying, you cowards! Midnight Wind is 11, great. But now you can see this guy is almost back to full health, so he can get the hell in there and deal with this warlord. Mazdamundi is not regenerating his wins nearly as fast as I want him to. Okay, and you guys... Okay, you guys... You see them off. You see them off. And you get in there to help out in this mess. Yeah, reptile! Cool, these guys are no longer running away, they're merely berserk. That's fine. My Sora Scar veteran is losing because he's outnumbered. That is fine. We can now drop Curse of the Midnight Wind and slow down this losing spree that's going on over here. My Berserking forces are now breaking in and causing a rout. It looks like their Warlord is the only one really left standing. Everyone else is running away. I do need to make sure they don't come back. How about up here? What's going on? Fleeing, fleeing, fleeing. None of them are broken. I do want to keep them. Go deal with their horse shit. Okay. Go deal. Alright, you've basically expended everything you're doing. They're all berserked. These guys are back from routing. Chase them down. As long as you're chasing an enemy unit, chances are they're not going to recover and come back. Okay. There we go. Now it's the chase down phase. Is everybody moving? Okay, I want everyone to be moving as fast as they can. They are. Musdamundi, go ahead. You're not catching anybody. Musdamundi. That's the downside to Skaven. They're fast little fucks. Alright, everyone is chasing. We're not catching. We might catch some people over here. Croxagores are pretty quick for something of their size. The skinks are chasing down, like, good lord. Get the hell out of here, clan rats. What happens when you're fighting an army larger than yours? Sometimes things will look bleak, but they can turn pretty quick, especially when you're dealing with a Skaven. Skaven have really low leadership, so they are very prone to mass routing, so their numbers turn to a detriment once things start to go bad. Because the thing about a mass rout is, once you start running away, if your friends see you run away, they're also going to want to run away. And since Skaven brings so many friends, once it starts, it can easily turn very bad very fast. Okay, and that's more or less the end of this battle. Ooh, that was a close one. But I'm already building new units, so I will recover. And I only lost 1 unit of skinks in the process. My heroes, on the other hand, are pretty messed up. And Toxer survived. Thank you, Toxer. There's also a difference between quality and quantity. I only lost 363 men of my lizards, and the Skavens lost 1,500. They had literally 5 times as many losses as I did. And yet, even after that, they still outnumber me. Though it's now 755 to 522. I definitely have the advantage. Good lord, this 1 unit of Saurus had 260 kills. Good job, Saurus. You deserve a medal. So another thing to note, as your units progress, they will gain experience and they will level up. They will get silver chevrons. They'll go 1, 2, 3 gold, and then they'll get 3 gold chevrons, and once they're up to 3 gold, they're fully maxed out. Each level confers a small stat increase and eventually caps out once you hit gold chevrons. If you get an elite unit up to gold chevrons, you want to keep an eye on them and make sure they don't get fully wiped out. As long as a unit survives a battle, their experience retains, and even if you only have 1 person left in that unit, once they get back up to full strength, they will still retain their levels, even though they are mostly new recruits. That's just how the game works. Alright, and we will eat their captives to regain some health. Alright, we send them fleeing. But the Fallen Gates is now definitely under Skaven control.